Hi there, and welcome to this week's edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast with your host, me, Colin Armstrong. It is episode 46 of the podcast, and we would obviously encourage you to subscribe to the podcast and share it on social media. The podcast is interactive. I've got the comment section open on YouTube, so you can send us comments, and we'll try and read some of them out. We are live tonight. We're live every Sunday now, but just to remind you, the podcast will be available to stream or download on a variety of platforms, including Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, Stitcher, and we are now available on Spotify. This week's host, we've got some hosts. We're going to look at obviously the Kilmarnock game today. We were unfortunately we lost 2-1 today at Kilmarnock. A really disappointing end to the season after 5-6 game unbeaten run there. We've got John McCallum. How are you, John?
Not too bad. The season's over. It's always a kind of sad day when the season's over.
Yeah, aye, and it was a bit of a kind of flat end to it as well. I thought, you know what I mean?
I'm looking for silver linings, and the thought that Aberdeen supporters looked at the Rangers team and saw we took 5 players out from the team that beat Celtic, and that they would be angry about that. That's my silver lining today.
Yeah,
that's the thing that's lifted me today. I think that's what I'm taking from today. Aberdeen came fourth; they don't get into Europe. I'm mildly amused by that.
Well, they might have a wee possibility of still sneaking in if Celtic win next week, because that's what Derek McInnes was saying after the game today. He hopes Celtic to go on and complete a historic treble, which was an interesting comment to come from a former Rangers player. But there you go.
Do you want to know how you really annoy an Aberdeen fan?
Go on then.
This is true, actually. This annoys them because it is true. Every Friday at training at Aberdeen, they play fives, right? So before the big match at the weekend, they play fives. They don't do serious training. They're not doing anything that's going to get them hurt or anything. They play fives. And guess how they pick the teams? It's Rangers fans against Celtic fans.
All right.
That's how Aberdeen picked the teams.
Are you exclusively revealing this, John?
I'm telling you this. It's true. And currently, their manager won't allow the game to finish unless Rangers are winning.
Right. Okay. Well, it doesn't. His outward sort of persona doesn't he give you that impression? If you don't mind me saying that,
I don't mind you saying it. But every time you meet an Aberdeen fan, tell them that. It really annoys them.
It pisses them off.
Really,
well, I'm up for that. I'm always up for pissing off the sheep, to be honest. But his comments today, I thought were just a wee bit. Obviously, he wants Aberdeen to be in Europe, but just the way he said it, I'm actually mildly surprised that there's enough Rangers supporters in that dressing room to get a game of fives. But there we go.
You'd be surprised.
I'm very surprised. And also joining us tonight, we've got David Fraser. How are you, David?
Not too bad, Colin, considering watching that end of season fair today. But you've raised my spirits talking about Aberdeen. No, possibly not getting into Europe this season.
I've got to be honest with you. I wasn't that bothered one way or another. I wanted Rangers to finish the season strongly. I think if we'd finished 6 points behind them, we could have sort of said, well, we're getting closer to them. That today, put us 9 points behind. It just felt a bit flat and just a poor end to a decent run. You know what I mean? I kind of feared that a wee bit when I saw the starting 11. We'll get into that shortly, but yeah, just a wee bit of a disappointing end, I must admit. I have to give a wee mention before we get started. I have to give a wee mention to my daughter Sophie, who's listening in. She has no interest in football whatsoever. The main reason, in fact, the only reason she's listening in is because we're now on Spotify, and she thinks it's brilliant that she can get her dad's podcast and Little Mix on the same platform. So a big
Little Mix, you know where that went the last time we took on Little Mix.
So big hello to Sophie, and thanks for listening in. Right, guys, let's go on with the game. As I said, a really sort of poor end to the season, a wee bit a flat end after such a decent run, especially after last week. It was almost a repeat of January. We beat Celtic in the game in December there, and the first game back in January, we lost to Kilmarnock. Same kind of feeling today. I don't think we necessarily deserved to get beat. I thought maybe a draw would have been a fair result, but I still felt a bit flat. John, I'll come to you first. I sort of predicted, I've been doing this over the last 2 or 3 weeks, sort of trying to predict the team. I think I got 10 out of 11 last week. I kind of suspected there would be changes this week because obviously Scott Arfield and Katic have been released early. They've got international stuff coming up in the summer, so Steven Gerrard allowed them to take their holiday early. So we always knew there was going to be changes. The amount of changes surprised me a wee bit though. Do you think he got the right starting 11?
He didn't get the right starting 11 to win the match. I didn't have a problem with him making those changes. I think most of them made sense. I was surprised at Barisic from what we've heard in previous pods. Barisic's time was over at the club, so I was surprised that he got a game. I thought actually Wallace might get a game before Barisic, so I was a little surprised he got a game. Having seen him play today, yeah, I'm even more surprised he got a game. But I don't know, Colin. I mean, our season's over. Our season was over last week. In the end, you don't ever want to lose, but it didn't actually matter what the score was today in the grand scheme of things. I'm disappointed we lost. It's annoying to lose, but I can understand why Tav was given the day off because he's played about 70 games this season. And I think it's wise to give him a little bit extra time. I'm assuming that he's been sent away as well, but I couldn't be certain, but I'm assuming that he's been told he can go early as well. I was surprised Morelos come back in, but I reckon he brought him back in so he get a chance to hit 30 goals, which he did, so that was good. Davis, I thought Davis might have played. I don't really know why Davis has been given, or why he didn't get a game. Unless he's got a knock, I can't see why he didn't get a game, and I think we did miss him today. But Arfield out made perfect sense. Katic out made perfect sense. I didn't really have too many complaints with that. In fact, if I had any complaints, it was that he didn't actually give a couple of young boys a game. Just give them a start, let's see. Give them a taste for it in a game that doesn't actually matter a great deal. I think that's probably the only complaint I'd had. Do you feel that they should have gone with a strongest team today?
Yeah, well, obviously they couldn't. I think Arfield and Katic, they were big players for us last week. I mean, that's what the sort of point I'm alluding to. I think there was going to be changes. Like you, I was surprised with Barisic. We'll come on and talk a bit more about Barisic later on when we're looking at the goals. I thought he would have maybe went with Halliday. My boy sort of touted Wallace. He thought he'd have maybe give Wallace a run out, but I was a wee bit surprised with Barisic. David, coming to you on this, the fullback positions, two different fullbacks today. In fact, a very different full back four today with Katic being out there as well. Flanagan moved from left back to right back. Now we don't know what's happening with Tav. Gerrard said before the game today that the reason he was missing that his calf was tight or something like that, which is fair enough because, as John has pointed out, he's played a lot of football this season. So yeah, I could understand why he left him out. But there is this sort of there's a lot of rumours and stuff suggesting that he might be on his way at the end of the season. Is Flanagan a possible instant replacement at right back? Because I know he's been up and down, but when he's played well, and he's played well out of position at left back, is that someone that could actually just slot in there at right back? I know he doesn't offer the same stuff going forward, but is that a ready-made replacement if Tav does go?
I would say probably yes. I think today, I don't think John Flanagan was necessarily at the top of his form today. Having said that, I'm just going to prefix anything I say regarding any of the players today. I would cut every single player and every single team in the league out with Kilmarnock slack for playing on that surface. That part is a joke. It sums up Scottish football. But to get back to John Flanagan, I think you'd need to give him a few games at right back to see whether he was... He looked as though he was a left back playing at right back today, if that makes sense. He's obviously been that used to playing at left back recently that he seemed a wee bit unsure. Whether he's got that kind of synergy with the guy in front of him being Candace today, I'm not sure. But I would say he's got to be worthy of contention to be the next right back, assuming that Tavernier moves on. But that's a big if, isn't it?
Well, is it? I don't know. I mean, I've saw a couple of things on social media today suggesting that he'd actually be staying, but I don't know. I think if we get a half decent bid in from him, I think he could probably go. And I know he doesn't offer the same going forward, but I think defensively, he's pretty sound. John, you mentioned Morelos there. He obviously got his 30th goal today. With regards to Defoe, when you consider the amount of goals we've scored with Defoe on the side, and it's not just in terms of him scoring. Obviously last week you could call it an assist with a dummy that set up Arfield. Just the way he's fitted in. I was listening to one of our rival podcasts, and rivals, I mean the other side of the fence, the Celtics. It was a Celtic podcast because I wanted to hear some salty tears after the game last week. And one of the comments was that Rangers have stumbled on a system, which I slightly disagree with. He says they've stumbled on a system that's working for them. I think Gerrard's system's been pretty much the same. He's pretty consistent in the 4-3-3. He maybe did stumble on, the personnel within that. I think when Morelos got suspended, he's brought Defoe in. Arfield's been sort of pushed further up the park, and that did work for us. You know what I mean? So I think we kind of stumbled on the personnel. But given the amount of goals I've scored, since Defoe's been in the side, if you're Defoe sitting today, do you feel you've been hard done by getting taken out that side?
I think you do if the game matters. But I think this goes back to what I said earlier. I suspect he'll have sat down with Defoe and said, look, I'm going to give Alfredo a run because I want him to try and get his 30th goal of the season. He hasn't played for, 5 games. This might be his last game for Rangers. That might have been his last run out. And, I think if the game had mattered, I think if we had to win that game for whatever reason, I think he wouldn't have made the same amount of changes that he did. But taking Defoe out for Morelos, you're not weakening the side. You're changing it. You're not weakening it. We've played really well with Davis, Arfield, and Defoe. They've struck up an understanding. Their experience, their guile has shown since the 3 of them have come in and the 3 of them have been the spearhead of the team. I think that's really made a difference to Rangers now. I think we missed them all today, but I don't think bringing in Morelos weakens the team. For me, I don't have a problem with that change at all. Under the circumstances, no problem at all with that change. He's a great player, and he scored. Whatever you can say about the result today, I don't think you can blame him for it.
No. The one thing with Morelos, and I'm not in any way sort of having a go at him. I'm like you. I rate Morelos very highly. It was obvious again today, though. Every Kelly player just taking that opportunity to niggle him, to dunt him, to wind him up, and I just felt when Defoe had that run in the team, we never had any of that. You know what I mean? We just focused on winning the game, and you could argue that it's kind of ironic that he scored 30 goals this season, easily our best player of the season, I would say. But I would argue that the 6 games run that we went on without him in the side was the best form we've played all season.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, like you say, since he gets sent off and has been out of the team, we have played very, very well. And I don't know if that's because when he's in the team, the rest of the players expect him to do too much, or if it's like you say, if it's just the fact that Defoe, because it's a different type of player, we play a slightly different way. Defoe's definitely a different type of player. He's not the same bundle of aggression that Morelos is. But at the same time, he's a great player, and I love watching him. And I was pleased to see him because, it might well be his last game. That might be the last time we'll see him in a Rangers jersey. And I wouldn't like to have seen that. I wouldn't like that Celtic game to have been the last time we saw him play for us.
Yeah. And I think the 30 goal thing's good as well. I think he deserves that. I think he's the first player since Chris Boyd, to hit the 30 goals in one season mark. And, as I said, it's undeniable that he's probably been the best player this season. I just find it ironic that we hit our best form when he wasn't there.
I actually think his style, sorry to cut across you there. I actually think his style of play actually suited Kilmarnock slightly more. Kilmarnock like a bit of niggle. Kilmarnock like to mix it. They're a physical team. They like to mix it. Broadfoot's a shithawk, isn't he? I mean, he's up to everything. Was he like that when he played for us? I don't know.
You want to know something? I mean, I know he gets a lot of stick, Broadfoot, right? And some of it is justifiable. But, a thing I done about a year or so ago, do you remember We Are the People magazine?
Yes.
You used to do a bit for them now and again. and they done an interview with big Kurt Broadfoot, and I transcripted it and wrote the article in the back. It wasn't me that done the interview. Somebody sent me the file, and I wrote it all up. And some of the stuff that he said, not during the interview, kind of off air. Take it from me, he's as blue nose as they come. What I mean? It was pretty staunch, right? So that's why, it doesn't bother me, right? I know a lot of fans get annoyed with him and get wound up with him, but he genuinely doesn't bother me. And I do remember him being a wee bit like that, especially when we played against Celtic. He used to get it to wee McGeady, something rotten, you know what I mean? So I know a lot of Rangers fans don't like him because he's sort of shithousery, as you so eloquently put it.
Sorry, Sophie.
It's all right. It's after 10 o'clock on a fight and stuff like that. But it doesn't bother me. I just see him as somebody that wants to win a game for his team, and he's prepared to go places that maybe a lot of us wouldn't go. So it doesn't bother me that much. But yeah, it does. He gets up to some absolute nonsense at times. There's no doubt about it.
Well, when you're listening to the Wolf Tones podcast this week, you let us know what they thought of him.
I can assure you, I wouldn't go that far. This one was fairly calm, but there was plenty of salty tears. And I'm always listening to other podcasts to try and improve our product as well, to see if we can steal some other people's ideas. But I wanted to hear, their take on it in terms of the game last week, and the sort of comment that we'd stumbled upon a system that kind of upped me a wee bit. But hey ho, that's just the way it goes. David, bringing you back in. Sorry, you must be sitting there feeling lonely. Kind of ignored you for the last 5 minutes. Candia's come in today for Arfield. Now, someone made a comment to me on social media, and I thought it was quite a good comment. After the game, we found out a lot about some of the players today, especially the ones that weren't playing. Now, Candia's come in for Arfield. I don't think there's any denying that we saw just how important Arfield is to that side of the day. I like Candias. He's a hard-working player, and he's done a good job for Rangers in the time he's here. But I don't think I think it was Stevie Clifford that was on the show one night and said he's not a 40, 50 game a season type player, and I think that kind of nailed the point down. He isn't. I think from here on in, Candias should be a sort of squad player, because when you saw what we missed with Arfield being out today, we didn't look quite the same side. I felt.
No, I don't think. I think that's a fair comment. We spoke about Scott Arfield last week in the pod, and you've seen the day. Scott Arfield is certainly he's accepted a role of responsibility within the team, and he drives the team forward. Having said that, I think Scott Arfield very much falls into the category of a player who maximises what talent he has. I don't think he's particularly a gifted footballer, but his work rate, what appears to be his professionalism, he's dedicated. He gives himself every opportunity to be the best he possibly can be. I would put Daniel Candias in that bracket as well. He appears to be a good trainer. He tries his heart out. He's got positional. How would you put it? He's very
positional awareness.
It's not so much positional awareness. He's got good. The words are escaping me just now, and we're live. He's very.
There's only 55,000 people listening.
Don't
let that get to you.
He does. He's responsible in the pattern that he carries out the manager's instructions. He does what you want him to do. It's not as if you're passing on instructions and then as a coach or a manager on the sidelines, you're yelling at a player who appears to be, not following the tactics to the letter. But Candias is extremely responsible as a player on the pitch. That said, I think Stevie Clifford has got a very good point there, that he's not the type of player in terms of the level of quality to be playing 50, 60 games a season for Rangers and expect Rangers to deliver on the big prizes. Scott Arfield in the current setup, he's almost the opposite of that. He's got to be playing 50, 60 games a season. And in the last half a dozen games, up to the Celtic game there, I think I went and recorded a couple of pods ago, when I was last on, that I feel that's Scott Arfield's best position. He's good at finding space, running between the lines. He's running on and off the ball. His stats will be high. And I think if you see, you're maximising the strengths that Scott Arfield can bring to the team. He can play in the midfield. He can pass the ball. He's got reasonable vision, but I think he's running off the ball and linking, even though he's not really a forward as such. He's pretty adept at that, and he has a goal threat. So I think he's seen there for all, today, that when Scott Arfield drops out the team, even though, as John quite rightly said, it was a bit of a dead rubber today, he's seen how, he leaves a big gap in the side when he's not there, Scott Arfield.
I like Arfield as a player, but I think Candace's a very different type of player. I don't know if you could compare him and Arfield. I know that, on the face of it, Candace came in to do that job, but I'm not actually sure he did. I mean, Candace is a player who's better out wide, and I see Arfield as a guy who's playing in the pitch a little more. Do you not think so, David?
I agree with you 100%, John. Scott Arfield, you could possibly say, is more an inside forward, whereas Daniel Candace, to my mind, isn't a winger. He's more a wide midfielder. He'd be like somebody, how would you, a pure comparison here, but he's almost like a Trevor Stephen type player, even though he's nowhere near as good a football player as Trevor Stephen. But Trevor Stephen was kind of like a wide midfielder, would happily patrol that right-hand side. And his latter time at Ibrox and the kind of early first stint at Ibrox,
Yeah.
He played that role up until he was one of the best players in Britain, if not Europe, at the time when he moved on to
Marseille, wasn't it? Yeah, big money.
That was when he moved more centrally, became more of a playmaker.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Candace is a wholehearted, honest player. So is Scott Arfield. I think we've got some honest pros. He seems to keep himself very fit. But then you've seen the day, as you're alluding to, there's a different, how would you put it? The potency of the team is altered drastically when Arfield's not in the team, because you know yourselves, the hardest part of the pitch where you get closed in the most is in the centre of the pitch. So the width of the 18-yard box, if you're driving forward there, but you're going to be closed down far quicker than you will be in the wide areas. And that's the hardest place to play.
I agree.
And as you said, if Daniel Candace, even though he would willingly do it, if a manager instructed him, said, Danny, I want you to play just off the 9 a day, I dare say he would say, no problem, boss. But is he going to be, as effective as Scott Arfield would be playing off the likes of Jermaine Defoe? I don't think so.
I agree. Candace, for me, is a wholehearted player. And the one thing I like about Candace is I think he really brings Tav into the game. I think when Candace is playing, Tav feels he has got full remit to run up and down that right wing because he knows Candace will cover, because he knows Candace will track back. And I think because Tav wasn't playing today, we actually lost a little bit on the right. Don't know if the right side of our I know we've spoken about John Flanagan, and I've got to be honest and say I'm not a John Flanagan fan for a couple of reasons. I wasn't gaga about signing him. I don't think he's that great a modern fullback. I think he is quite strong defensively, but I think our system needs more from a fullback than Flanagan can bring. And I think most importantly, he doesn't know how to spell the name John. Have you seen how he writes the name John? That's for me. That's the deal breaker as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's a very valid comment there, John. I must admit.
That's the kind of insights you might be on for
from someone who does spell it properly. But I mean, I get what you're saying. In terms of Candace, I think he's a workmanlike player. I just think he's been overused this season. I think Stevie Clifford hit the nail on the head a few weeks ago. I just don't think he's the sort of player that you can rely on week in, week out. He's always the sort of player that you get a reaction from. You play him for 5 or 6 games, then he hits that the last 2 or 3 of those games, he's not so good. You take him out for a couple of games. When he comes back, he's like a rabid dog. He's desperate to get going, and then you get another 2 or 3 really good performances out of him, and then he dips away again. In terms of Candias, David, just before Kilmarnock took the lead today, he hit the bar. Do you think he should have scored?
He was unlucky, Colin, I would say. You could say that he could have taken a touch and got the shot on target, but I think he was unlucky to see that come off the bar, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll maybe slightly disagree. I'll maybe look at it again tomorrow. I thought at the time he probably should have scored, but I'll have another wee look at it.
I think it's one of those ones where you could criticise him for not hitting the target legitimately, and some people would say, he's unfortunate to see that hit. I mean, he hit it sweetly.
I actually think the keeper got a touch, so you could maybe say he has been unlucky.
All right, well, sorry, I didn't see that. I didn't catch the fact that
I'm
the keeper
pretty sure
touched it.
I'll need to watch again. I'm pretty sure the keeper got a touch, or the defender got a touch, and sort of just gave it that wee bit of deflection to put it up onto the bar. But I mean, we hit the bar, and then literally 2 minutes later, Kilmarnock run up the park and score. Some really sloppy stuff from Kamara in the middle of the park. And that's a couple of times he's done it now. Obviously, done it against Aberdeen, played a bad squares ball across the park, and Aberdeen got the goal from it. Today, just sort of robbed in possession. However, I think the main thing we need to talk about here is Barisic, and there's been a lot of talk again on social media. John, Gerrard has sort of expressed his frustration about Barisic previously. I think him and Gresda have sort of upped him on more than one occasion. Now, lots of people were talking to me today again on Twitter saying that it was Kamara's fault for the goal, which I totally get that. He's the man that's lost possession. However, Barisic's reaction, I've watched that a couple of times since. He was so slow in getting back. When he's chasing back on Chris Burke, he looks across to the linesman for a flag, which doesn't come. He kind of half jogs, then looks across at the linesman again, as if have you changed your mind? And then he almost like chucks it. In terms of, in that situation, I'd expect my fullback to be bombing back. Now, we were linked with Max Lowe through the week here, who is a fullback. Do you think that the game's up for Barisic? That's how I feel. I think Gerrard chucked him in the other day. We were talking earlier on about being a bit surprised. I think Gerrard has chucked him in the day and said, right, show me what you've got. This is last chance saloon. And he was involved in both goals.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I was surprised he started, because from what we've heard, he's definitely out of favour just now. So having got the chance, you kind of felt he should maybe. I was also surprised he started because of the pitch, and I was under the impression Barisic wasn't getting to play on the plastic pitches. That for whatever reason, that an injury he had or something was stopping him playing on the plastic pitches. So I was surprised about that as well. But let me see. Let me put up a case for the defence first. One of the big criticisms that Tav has always taken from our support, and rightly at times, is that defensively he switches off. Defensively, it's just, there's been occasions, not so much recently, but occasions in the last 3 seasons where he's just switched off, where guys have come in behind him, where he's just been unaware of space around him defensively. And we've always accepted that that's the weakness in his game, because going forward he's so strong. I look at Barisic and I see a player who should be good going forward. When he's been at his best, and he's not been at his best very often, but when he's been at his best, it's been going forward. And defensively, he's a bit suspect. And that's I guess that's why we're able to sign a player like him, because he isn't the finished player. So I'd say that perhaps he's worth persevering with, because I think he can teach that. I think Tav has proved that. I think Tav has improved defensively. Tav gave the ball away for the Celtic goal that finished the season for us, and we're forgiving him for that. So can Barisic be forgiven for this? Yes, he can. Was it poor? Yes, it was. I agree. His response, particularly to the first goal, his response was not good. He should have been. I mean, it's Chris Burke. I mean, you'd fancy your chances against Chris Burke in a race, wouldn't you? I mean, Chris Burke's our age.
Yeah, a 35-year-old bald Chris Burke.
Aye, I mean, Chris Burke looks like he plays for your local pub team.
Yeah,
that's what he looks like. I mean, it's amazing that wee guy, that wee ginger guy who had dehydration in Aberdeen, looks like he's like this mad thug-looking guy now. It's that guy you wouldn't look twice at in a bar. You're like, no, I don't want to catch his eye. He'll come for me. But you'd still fancy your chances against him. And I was surprised that Barisic, just his responses were poor. Kilmarnock was at fault. I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, it was fairly obvious that Kilmarnock were closing down, everybody instantly. So I was a little surprised that he got caught in possession. I thought Fod could have done slightly better. I maybe been a bit harsh there.
I understand that. I felt he could have closed Burke a wee bit quicker. He seemed to come out so far and then just stop. I think he could have come out and narrowed the angles a bit quicker. Yeah. I'm with you in that.
But yeah, I was surprised Barisic started for a couple of reasons, and I don't think he did himself any favours today in terms of what the future holds for him. I get the impression if somebody would take him off our hands in the summer, we would let him go. I don't think there's any doubt about that now.
David, as John's pointed out there, there's question marks about his defensive capabilities, but as John's also pointed out, that was always the case. There was always the thing with Barisic that you were probably similar to Tav, maybe getting a wee bit more in the attacking sense. But I would argue that even that's gone. The standard of his delivery into the box at the start of the season compared to now is night and day. So if we're not getting anything out of him, it feels to me that the case for the defence, as John's just put it there, is pretty poor. It's a weak defence for him, and if he's going to have a discussion with Gerrard over the next couple of weeks about staying at Rangers, he's going to be in a vulnerable position, I think.
I would agree. I think for a guy that's a converted winger, I don't think he's shown anything defensively where you could cotton on and say, he looks as if there's something there that can be worked on. I can hear what John's saying up to a point, and that Tavernier's levels of improvement defensively have shown that the coaching staff, allied to a player's individual conviction, can improve a player. That said, though, I don't think that Borna Barisic shows any heart. I think physically he looks intimidated to the point where you possibly question whether he's all that bothered. I mean, is he just picking up a wage? Is he disruptive in the dressing room through a lack of example in how he trains? I really don't know. He's early in the season, I was always giving the guy the benefit of the doubt, saying, he's a foreigner coming into a foreign country, into a league which I would imagine, represent a rapid departure from the kind of technical basis of the football that he'd be used to growing up and playing as a professional. And that's not easy to adapt to. That said, though, in the game against Osijek at Ibrox, he stood out like a sore thumb for Osijek in many respects. He was bombing up and down the line. He looked a danger. When he's came to Scottish football, people have sussed him out that he's basically a one-trick pony. There's not a lot in his locker in terms of beating a man, and they just nullify him, and his confidence is shot. I don't know. It could be that the managers went through him too many times, and he's just a shell of a player in comparison to what he was when he arrived at first. Is
it possible that the jersey's just too big for him?
Aye, there could be that. I mean, you guys know, and most of the guys that are listening, they know that playing for Rangers it's not an easy thing to do. Getting there's half the battle. Once you're there, you've got to stand up and be counted. That pressure to win every single game, doesn't matter what they're playing. Rangers could be playing tiddlywinks, and there'd be a pressure to go and deliver for the badge. And some guys just haven't got it. I've read online that after the Liverpool bounce game, apparently Barisic was the only guy to go in of the senior pros who the manager level criticism at publicly. there's rumours flying about that he was the only senior pro that went in and said that he was sorry for his performance during the first 45 minutes of that match, and whether that earned him a reprieve, where he made a substitute's appearance for the bench. He was on the bench for the Hibs game, because I think a lot of people were quite shocked that he was actually still quoted and made the bench. But looking at him today, you're thinking, this guy's Rangers career's, if it's not finished, it's perilously close to being finished.
I think it's hanging by a thread. I really do. And I get what you're saying about Gerrard. I think it's maybe something that we can look at next week in the sort of end of season show. There is something about Gerrard's man management, I think, that deserves to be sort of looked at and scrutinised. I know he's played at the highest level and he's got really high standards, but there has been a couple of times when he justifiably he's not been happy with players, but how he's went about it, so publicly, I've kind of questioned if he's maybe just, that's a wee sign of him, still being a wee bit inexperienced as a manager and maybe not handling things.
Have you ever listened to, sorry, I know you listen to other podcasts, so have you ever listened to the Peter Crouch podcast?
I was actually listening to that the other day, yeah.
Did you hear the one where he was talking about his first day at Liverpool?
No.
So that is really insightful into Gerrard's character and just how he is as a person and as a football man. And I can see why someone like Barisic, who clearly has ability, but if he doesn't have the application, I can see why someone like him would drag Gerrard up the wall. Crouch describes his first day at Liverpool, and he said he knew Gerrard. He knew Gerrard from playing for England. But he said his first day at Liverpool, Gerrard would just hit passes at him as hard as he could. And he said it wasn't a case of you could have a bad training session with Liverpool about Gerrard when he was there. He said, if I miscontrolled one of those passes, he said, he just gave me a bollocking. He said, I couldn't believe it. He said, this was the standard. I said, I'd moved from Southampton, I think he'd been at.
Yeah.
So I'd moved from Southampton to Liverpool. He said, and the whole purpose of this was Gerrard and Carragher. He said they controlled the dressing room, and the whole purpose of this first training session was to let you know whether or not, to know the standards that were now expected of you in training every single day. And whilst that's a great thing, not every footballer can do it. Not every footballer's up to it, and it may be that Barisic just isn't capable of living his football life to that standard.
It comes down to, it's not just ability, it's mental strength, isn't it? It's been able to take that sort of pounding every day and still sort of deliver. And Barisic, he even looks, I think physically he looks quite timid, you know what I mean? And I just think he's wilted as the season has gone on, and I think his Rangers career is hanging by a thread.
Yeah.
Guys, after we went 1-0 down, there was a penalty claim for Rangers involving the goal scorer Chris Buck. Quick yes or no, did we think that was a penalty? David, go with you first.
I would say it was a penalty. I would say that Chris Buck's arm is in an unnatural position. He doesn't gesture towards the ball right enough, but I think he's making himself bigger, for want of a better phrase. So I would say yes.
Yourself, John?
I called for it at the time. I certainly thought it was a penalty at the time. I can see why it wasn't given. We got 4 replays. The ref saw it once, linesman saw it once. I can see why it wasn't given. I certainly wanted it at the time. I certainly screamed for it. Willie Collum was a referee.
Need we say any more? I couldn't get the other one quick enough at the other end, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
The equaliser for Morelos now, my mate has just sort of got in touch with me on. I'm all fancy with this new iPhone that I've got. I feel like I'm 15 again. He's just got in touch with me and sent me a list of the players that have also scored 30 goals in a season. And it's Chris Boyd, Marco Negri, Mark Hateley, Alan McCoist, and Derek Johnson. Now, Negri aside, that's a fairly, decent list of players that have served the club well. Great to see him getting the 30 goals. Good work from Kent. Cut inside. Passed it on to Ryan Jack. Another penalty claim. Obviously, it doesn't matter because of the goal. but it looked to me like that could have been a penalty as well, and then a good finish from Morelos. David, the Brian Kent, the work that he had in the goal. Now, obviously, we don't know what's happening with him. Now, I was looking at some of his stats today. I think it's like 7 goals and 8 assists. You know, the sort of money that we're talking about him. Don't get me wrong. I think when he plays well, he adds a lot to Rangers, and he puts panic into teams when he runs at them. But I must admit, when I was looking at his stats, you know, they're slightly on the modest side for the sort of fee that's been reported for him. How important do you think it is that Kent stays? Is he that integral to how Rangers play?
That's a difficult one to answer. He's integral in this Rangers side currently. It's no surprise to me that his stats are slightly modest. I think a lot of his decision making could be better. I'd like to think, glass half full, that next season, that what he's learned this season, he taken into next season, if he was to come back, I would like to see that his decision making would be better. Sometimes he takes an extra touch. Sometimes he takes far too many extra touches. I would like to think that that he could reduce that and become better at that. With regards to how he fits into the side, he's the one genuine player when the ball's at his feet where you're expecting something to happen. He can drop the shoulder. He likes the step overs. He's quite exciting to watch, I think. But I think the fact that that some fans could be pinning their hopes to the likes of Ryan Kent shows where Rangers are in their current evolution. I'd like to think that there could be another player out there that could offer something similar. Whether Jordan Jones may well be that player, that's open to debate. I would possibly say no, but that's possibly selling Jordan Jones short, because Jordan Jones might pitch up at Ibrox next season or Auchenhowie, and it could be the platform that the guy needs to go on and become a special player. Jake Hastie may well fulfil that role. So is he that integral to the team going forward? You'd have to say yes, given that Stevie's went on record as saying they're trying everything to get him back. But when you're mentioning there about the fees that have been involved or have been mentioned, I think I'm right in saying that the Liverpool Echo ran a story there during the week that they reckon they could amass possibly £100 million from selling fringe players in the squad, and I think that was, somebody put a rough figure of £12 million on Brian Kent's head. I don't think he's worth anywhere near that. I don't think he's worth anywhere near half that, to be perfectly honest. But the market dictates otherwise. I think an English Championship side could quite easily afford that. Obviously, the total cost of ownership when it comes to wages is part of contract packages would possibly blow Rangers out the water. So it's a difficult one to answer, Colin, but I'd like to think that, let's say that on the debit side, that he doesn't come back up the road next season. I'd like to think that the manager could unearth someone else who can perform that role within the team, where he's the guy that takes somebody on and tries to get the byline cut balls back, or dives in and plays 1-2s off a spearhead or a target man striker, if that's how Gerrard's going to play next season.
It's worth pointing out we're waiting on Murphy coming back as well, so we are going to have options for that position next season. But there is an awful lot of focus on Kent. But I'm a bit like you. As I said, when I was looking at his stats today, I just thought I was expecting them to be higher. Let's put it that way. John, the key moment of the match, a couple of minutes to go. I felt about the game. I think probably a draw would have been a fair result. But with a couple of minutes to go, ball gets Barisic is involved again. I think he gets caught wrong-sided. Player, he sort of has a wee tug at him. Player goes down. I thought it was soft. How did you view it?
I thought it was soft as well. I think you said earlier, the ref was dying to give it, and he did give it. All I'd say is, Barisic pulled his jersey. and he pulled the jersey in the box. It certainly wasn't enough for them to go down, but he pulled the jersey, and if the ref saw that, then he's given a penalty. He was caught wrong side. He was daydreaming, and it was the fullback, wasn't it, the guy O'Donnell? It was the guy O'Donnell, who I actually think is actually a pretty decent player. He's probably one of the better players. But he just got the other side of him, and he went down, and it was kind of messy looking, and like you say, I think the ref had been looking to give them something. Yeah, I'm right. For me, a draw would have been the right result over the piece, but Kilmarnock wanted it more than we did today. So sometimes it's just like that.
David, did you
let's blame Barisic.
Well, that's what I'm doing. Did you see it as a penalty, David?
I thought it was soft as well, Colin. But I think it's John's kind of more or less nailed there. If Willie Collum sees Barisic tugging at Stephen O'Donnell's shirt, even though Barisic lets the shirt go, and then Jacques Cousteau would have been proud of that emotion in the box. But a swan dive, to say the least. But I think he's going to give it. I think it's one of the ones where it's you're leaving yourself open to being penalised by the referee, and that's what transpired, unfortunately.
I mean, again, going back to sort of comments at the time on social media, I saw a few folk going on about O'Donnell diving and all the rest, and he's made the most of it. But I think again, Barisic has left himself wide open. The whole situation, if Barisic is switched on, if he's in his right position, that whole situation doesn't happen. So, it's been a bad day for Barisic, I think, and a bad day for Colin as well, because I don't think it was a penalty. But yeah, a bad day for Barisic at left back today. Speaking of Willie Collum, guys, again, there was just the lack of consistency. There was a couple of things. Obviously, there was a Kilmarnock penalty. There was an incident earlier in the game involving Connor Goldson, which looked identical, if not worse. There was a tug on Connor Goldson's shirt, and he went down. And it comes down to this consistency thing. You're seeing one thing being awarded and another one not. And I mean, Willie Collum, when he booked Morelos today as well for something that I thought was nothing, a wee gesture to the Kilmarnock fans after he scored, because they're giving it, they've given it tight. Now again, we've seen a lack of consistency in this issue. We saw Andy Halliday sent off at Morton a couple of seasons back and accused of inciting a riot. Anytime Neil Lennon comes at Ibrox, especially when he was with Hibs there, he was continually gesturing to the supporters and the Old West enclosure there, and proper, get it up you gestures, not just wee cupping the ears and all that kind of stuff, proper get it right up you gestures. Nothing said. Derek McInnes does something similar a couple of weeks ago in the semi-final against Aberdeen, and he gets sent up the tunnel. There's a real issue, I think, here with the consistency of not only the refereeing, but the retrospective action that comes afterwards.
Consistency is exactly the problem. In the end, if every player got booked or sent off, as it was in Hardy's case, in the end, but if every player got booked for making gestures to the crowd, then I don't agree with that, but at least then everybody knows where they stand. But the two examples you gave there of McInnes and Lennon are the perfect example of the inconsistency, the utter ridiculousness of it. And let's say referees, you've got to cut referees some slack sometimes and say, look, they're all individuals, so they all react differently to different events. And what happens in a low-key game when there's nothing at stake, and what happens in a high-profile match when everything's at stake, the circumstances and how fans will react. I get that folk can take things differently because of that. They can, they may have to take that into account. But Morelos' booking today was an utter nonsense. It was just a nonsense. I felt sorry for him. I mean, I was a wee bit annoyed with him. I thought he had a couple of wee fouls in the match, and I thought you didn't need to do that. You shouldn't have done that with what's going on in the past. You shouldn't be getting involved in those types of things. But I felt that that's part of the game. If a player is getting stick all through the match, as he does, and he's getting stick from the fans, and he's getting stick from their players, and he scores a goal, I think he's kind of half entitled to just give them a little bit. But he didn't swear at them. He didn't give them the finger or anything like that. He just didn't let them know that he'd heard them, and there's your reply. That's not a booking. That's a disgrace, and that's where the consistency comes in, because you know that Morelos got booked because he's Morelos.
Yeah.
And Defoe wouldn't have got booked for that. And in my opinion, that was his reputation that got him booked today. And that's not right, because then there is no consistency. And that's what drives fans up the wall.
I mean, I think the comparison you make with Defoe there is on the money. If he scores today and does the exact same celebration, there's no yellow card coming out. You're right, Morelos was booked today because he's Morelos. Now, part of the reason he has a reputation, he has to take responsibility for. But there's also this total, exaggeration of his, what he does on a football park. He's sort of deemed as a sort of unstable foreigner who's coming over here and showing us this, that, and the next thing. And that's led to a narrative that I think referees are watching him for the minute the game kicks off. They're looking for a reason to book him straight away. They think the minute he gets involved in something, I'm just going to show him the yellow card.
And again, and the reason they're having to look is because he is highlighted by television. But it's this whole trial by sports scene that you just know that if he does something out of line, that it's getting shown from 5 angles and getting discussed by Michael Stewart, and there's a letter going into the Scottish Parliament the next day. And any other forward in the league does not get the same level of scrutiny. No. And that leads to referees then thinking, right, I have to book him anytime he does anything.
Yeah, I do. I think you're absolutely on the money again.
That's twice you said that today.
I know, aye. And
it's highly surprising.
You're playing a blinder, John. And David, on another thing, another issue, that comes down to scrutiny and consistency, the whole Steve Clarke thing, the chants came up again. I know we discussed that a wee bit last week. It sort of happened when Lennon was at Ibrox. We had the same thing again. The minute I heard that, the Steve Clarke song, I thought, here we go again. There's the headlines right there, right then. That's what the majority of the usual suspects will go with. However, something that didn't go quite as noticed was a chant from the Kilmarnock supporters aimed at John Flanagan, and the whole domestic abuse thing. He's sort of, he was convicted when he was at Liverpool for an incident with his wife or girlfriend or whatever. Now, obviously can't defend what Flanagan done, and I think we all agreed at the time that we felt a bit uncomfortable when Rangers signed him. However, in a week where Graham Spears and a few others have moralised about using another story on the other end of the city, a sort of developing scandal, Spears and a few others have been quite critical about using that for point scoring. Well, surely if supporters are engaging in a song singing about a guy being a wife beater, you're using domestic abuse on point scoring, on a point scoring basis. So again, coming down to the consistency thing, how many commentators are going to mention that Flanagan song? I'm fairly sure it won't be any.
I don't think there will be any. I don't think you can conflate domestic abuse and sectarianism, to be fair, Colin. I'm probably going to go against the tide here. I didn't hear anything. I couldn't hear the chants on the telly. I opted not to go to Rugby Park today. For a multitude of reasons, but I didn't hear anything on the telly. But I'm at a loss. I mean, what have the support got to do? I mean, the club hierarchy, the management, the senior management of the club, they must be at their wits' end. What can we do with this? They just can't help themselves. I mean, is that a final 2 fingers to Stevie Clarke as the Kilmarnock manager? I'm assuming that he's going to take up the mantle at Hampden shortly. I don't know. It's just a despair of some of the actions of the collective support at times, Colin. I've got to be honest.
I don't think we box clever at times. I think we are the sort of masters of our own downfall. However, you know, as I've said before, there is a level of inconsistency, which I think also feeds it. You know what I mean? I think some supporters have this view of, well, if we're going to get hung out to dry, we might as well get hung out to dry for doing something, you know, properly naughty.
Well,
I
we've
mean,
got to box clever then. I mean, if I take your point, I think you have got a point there that a lot of it is, you know, leading, let's say, some of the kind of the kind of less bright members of the Rangers support on the punch, you know, but that still doesn't excuse it. There's got to be, leaving aside moralising about, you know, self-policing as a support. I mean, come on, we're not getting past, you know, that kind of chant. It was out of date when it was used 25 years ago in the 90s. I despair at times. I really do. I mean, it was only when I saw the agenda for the night's pod that I realised that had been going on again. You're thinking to yourself, this is just, I don't know whether it's elements within the Union Bears, if it's unfair to single them out, or whether it's just guys in the stand, the Chadwick stand at Rugby Park just decided to start it up. I don't know. It's just, I'm at a loss, Colin. I totally take your point. I know there's antagonism in certain corners of the media that want to get a rise out of Rangers supporters, and some of our fans are only too happy to oblige. But I don't know what can be done. I don't partake in it, and I don't think anybody should, to be honest with
you. Moving on, guys. I think we've kind of covered the game there, and I'm conscious of time. Just a quick sort of, obviously the last game of the season today. You know, no cup final next week. You know, we go away, have a break, and we come back. John, in terms of the season overall, how have you felt about things?
It's been a 6 out of 10 for me.
Ooh, harsh.
6 out of 10. Well, we won. We didn't win anything. Rangers need to win things. We didn't win anything. We made progress. I don't care what any of the apparently, and then, you know, some of the people you read, you say, or you hear some folk on the radio, you read some of the stuff to say, no, you know, Rangers haven't made much progress. Rangers have made an absolute ton of progress this season. You know, having watched Rangers for the last decade, you know, the team just now, you know, there's a cohesion to it. You can see what they're trying to do. We have better players, and it's inconsistency this season that has caught us out. And I'm very pleased with the progress. And it's funny looking back. And I know we're going to do a proper one next week, but it's funny looking back because I have to say, when they appointed Gerrard, I was a little sceptical. I did think this was taking a huge gamble, and he has been far, far better than I thought he would be. And I know a lot of folk were very excited about him, and obviously, you know, A, a big name, and B, you know, a guy who had been a captain of his country, you know, a guy clearly a born leader. But at the same time, that doesn't always make you a good manager. But I've been impressed with what Gerrard's done. I've been impressed with some of the players he's brought in. I like the way we try and play football. You know, I think it's quite pleasing in the eye. It's good to watch. But I'm a 6 out of 10 because ultimately we fell at the final hurdle every time. You know, we should have gone through in Europe. You know, we should have played football in Europe after Christmas. Even though I didn't think we had a chance of qualifying for the knockout stage in the first, or for the group stage in the first place, when we did, you know, we should have got through till after Christmas. We should have done better against Celtic at Parkhead. You know, we should have got a point from that game, and we shouldn't have gone out both the cups the way we did, and that's the disappointment for me. And that's why it's a 6 out of 10. So I've actually enjoyed the season. You know, there's times you've been banging your head against a wall. There's times you have been down. But I have enjoyed the season more than I enjoyed certainly last season, which I didn't enjoy one bit. No. And the season before, our first one back up. You know, again, I liked the way we played under Warburton. I liked the football he tried to play. I liked the style. And I was quite hopeful. I didn't think we were going to win the league the first season up, but I was quite hopeful that we would, you know, we'd bloody a few noses. And I was so disappointed it finished the way it did. You know, and the acrimony and it was horrible the way it finished. And that season that was a horrible season. And last season wasn't much better. So yeah, 6 out of 10 may be harsh, but ultimately, you get 10 out of 10 when you win the treble. And we didn't win anything. Didn't even make a final, and that's not good enough for Rangers.
David, you're Steven Gerrard at the moment. You're coming up to the summer. If you've got 4 positions that you think need replaced at Ibrox and need strengthened, what do you think we need? What are those sort of 4 key positions you think we're needing?
Well, it depends who departs, I would say, Colin. If Alfredo Morelos moves on, I would say the number 1 priority is a centre forward that's going to score 25 goals a season, minimum. I'd say a centre half is vitally important. Assuming James Tavernier stays at Ibrox, and assuming that Stevie wants to play in a similar way to how he has, certainly in the last 6 games, with the backs high up the pitch, you could make a case for a left back. I know Max Lowe's been linked, and Greg Taylor at Kilmarnock's also been linked as well. So possibly going into the market for a left back and possibly a number 10. I don't know. You could make a toss up for a number 10 and possibly a midfield enforcer. Of the 3, the triumvirate that was mentioned last week, they played really well, being Davis, Kamara and Jack. There's no really anybody there's no real hard man in there, or somebody that can look after themselves physically. I don't regard Ryan Jack as a physical player. I think he's pretty. The chips are down. I don't think he's got what it takes physically. I still think he's a decent player. Glenn Kamara is too lightweight. I think I've went on record as saying I'd like to see him put on half a stone of muscle. And Stephen Davis says, he's never going to be a physical player given his stature and his height. So I would say, assuming it's not going to be, a central midfielder, then you're possibly looking at a centre forward, a left back, a number 10, and a centre half.
Yeah, I would go with that. I would agree with most of your arguments there. Having a wee look here, guys, at some of the comments on YouTube. I'm going to do a wee shout out for Pete David Tomlinson, who contributes obviously to the pod. He's asked me to give the Blues Brothers Patrick Supporters Club a mention because they looked after him today. I've got another mention here on the whole singing thing. The chants. Ewan Taylor here on the comment section makes a good point, saying that we had fair at all our European games, and anything we do as a support gets highlighted. Not sure what the club can do. The fair thing, I think, is a really good point because they did turn up at most, if not all, of our games. And again, it comes down to that consistency thing. If you've been contributing tonight on the comment section, thanks very much. Sorry, I couldn't get to read out all of them. And that's pretty much it. Just looking at the time there, we're a couple of minutes over. So a big thanks to you, David, and thanks to you, John, for your contributions tonight. Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
No problem, Colin.
No, I need to put the promotion out for next week. We're doing an end of season party show, so we're going to try and get as many of the contributors to the pod on in one single night and just have a sort of review of the season, a discussion of the high points, the low points, where did they go right, where did they go wrong, all that kind of a thing. So that'll be out next week. Obviously, we'll have no game to cover, but we'll have a review of the season overall. In the meantime, get yourself on to promote. If you can get yourself onto the Four Lads pod with Stephen Clifford. He's speaking to Derek Johnston this week. I've not had a listen to it yet, but Big DJ is always good to listen to. Also, get yourself onto the Gersnet website and forums at www.gersnet.co.uk. Have a great week, guys. We'll see you next week for the end of season party show. And until then, bye for now.